But Albert's love of the West persisted, and as he gets older, he heads off to Cornell. He gets a degree in engineering, and his goal was pretty simple. Take Dad's money, his engineering knowledge, head west, and make a fortune in the mining business. That's exactly what he decides to do as a young man, and he's showing some pretty good promise, but life takes a turn it didn't expect. You see, when he's 27, he and his father are in Colorado looking at a mine out there. Their train breaks down in the middle of the railroad tracks. Second train came in from behind, rear-ending the Johnsons. Albert's father's killed on the spot, and Albert, at 27 years old, is hospitalized for 18 months. 18 months in a hospital bed. You break your back in the 1890s, there wasn't a lot they could do for you. By the time he gets out of the hospital, he's got a callus the size of a fist right here in the middle of his spine where he'd snapped it in half. He's shrunk about 2 inches, and his doctors give him about 10 years to live, telling him he'll be lucky if he sees the age of 40. Now, Albert was a millionaire overnight. He gets Dad's fortune, gets a big old settlement from the train company, but 10 years to live. I mean, if I was Albert Johnson, I had 10 years to live and millions of dollars, no doubt what I'd be doing for the next 10 years. I'd be traveling, I'd be seeing the world, I'd be trying to fulfill my life dreams. But he takes after his father and he reinvests that money. Within a few years, he's sitting as the president of the National Life Insurance Company in Chicago, making more than $1 million a year. I mean, Albert is financially set. But this was not exactly his dream of playing cowboy riding around the range. As luck would have it, maybe you'd say fate. It was just about 2 years later he met a real cowboy that caught his attention, a guy named Scotty. Now, he wasn't always known as Scotty. When he was born Walter Scott. His dad raised horses in Cynthiana, Kentucky, and at the ripe age of 11 years old, Walter decided it was time to leave home and head west to become a grown man. By age 14, he's out here in Death Valley. 14 years old. I mean, you do anything you can to survive. And he did. He worked as a water boy on a geological survey for a while, helped run mule teams, eventually gets a job wrangling mules in Nevada. We know he did a little bit of prospecting here and there as well. But he finally catches one lucky break, because at 18, he's spotted by a talent scout for Buffalo Bill Cody. And he gets hired on the spot to play the part of an American cowboy. Now, it's a pretty fancy name to say, old Scotty, he was a showman and entertainer. He did trick shooting, trick riding, trick roping, got to travel Europe, travel America, and got a real taste of fame and fortune. And this is a pretty good job for Scotty, but there is a trade-off. You see, you only tour with Buffalo Bill in spring, summer, and fall, and in the wintertime, you got to find other work. And Scotty did. We know at least a couple years he goes out to Cripple Creek, Colorado, and works as a miner out there. Now, he didn't own a gold mine or anything of that nature, but he just simply worked for a company, got a lot of experience doing mining, got to understand the mining business a bit. And we know at least on one of his trips out to Cripple Creek, Colorado, he was getting a little souvenir from his boss. A little tiny piece of ore, a little bit of gold in it, a couple of flecks, not worth much money, just a souvenir. Well, Scotty holds on to that ore, and it's going to pay off pretty big for him in a couple of years, because what happens at age 30 is Scotty and his boss, Buffalo Bill, have a little bit of a labor dispute. Turns out Scotty didn't want to show up for practices or rehearsals any longer, but wanted to collect a paycheck anyway. I don't know if you've ever tried not going to work and asking for a paycheck. Didn't work out too well for Scotty. Scotty gets himself fired, 30 years old, stuck in the streets of New York City. No job, no money. Looking for a way to make a living and make it fast. Now, Scotty knows a lot about Death Valley, knows a little bit about mining, sure knows how to tell a good story. And he begins going up and down the business offices in New York City. Heading into offices saying, "Sir, my name is Scotty. I own this gold mine in Death Valley. My mine is worth millions, but I'm a poor miner. I don't have the money to develop it. Look at this. I've got a little mine from my little ore from my gold mine here. Look at this. This is real gold. This comes from Death Valley. I just need some investors, some financial backers. You provide the cash, I'll do the work, we'll be rich together." Sounds like a pretty good deal, doesn't it? Albert Johnson sure thought so. You've got a real, honest-to-goodness cowboy walking around the streets of New York City with gold ore in his pocket, talking about investing in a Wild West mine. This is definitely going to catch Albert's attention. It's everything he's wanted since the time he's a little kid. Wild West adventures, cowboys, gold. Now, there's a little problem with this story, though. Where did that gold that Scotty's carrying around come from?
Colorado.
Colorado. Didn't come from Death Valley. Well, Albert dumps tens of thousands of dollars into Scotty in this mine over 3 years, but never sees a penny in return, and that's why Albert came out here to find out what was going on. He took 3 trips to Death Valley, met with Scotty on every one of those trips. And every time he met with Scotty, Scotty rode him up into the desert and gave him a brand new excuse why he couldn't take him out to see that gold mine. 3 years, 3 trips. And Albert's finally figured it out. What's going on here? Albert has been lied to, ripped off, conned, swindled, robbed, whatever you want to say. Scotty's a crook and a con man and nothing more. That gold came from Colorado, and Albert's got nothing to show for his investment. Mr. Johnson immediately cuts off all Scotty's funding, goes back to Chicago, and it's hard to say what happens next. What we know for sure is Albert was about 35 years old. He believed his doctors when they say he'd be dead in 5 years, and here he was, in his mid-30s, 5 years to live, riding around the West, doing everything his parents told him he couldn't do when he's a little kid. He's living out his dreams of playing cowboy, his very own personal tour guide. One of Buffalo Bill Cody's own American cowboys, Death Valley Scotty, showing him around. We know that eventually, I'm not going to tell you Albert forgave Scotty, but eventually he decides to stop thinking with his wallet and start thinking with his heart. Why not buy a little piece of property here, build a tiny little vacation home, enjoy the last 5 years of his life? I don't know about you folks, that looks like an okay little vacation house to me. you will find 3 words written above the door there, Death Valley Ranch. That's the proper name of this establishment, the private vacation home of multimillionaire Albert Johnson and his wife Bessie.